All right, hi everyone. Welcome to this live post-game edition. Believe in Bills. Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live Buffalo, alongside Sal Maiorana, the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. 30-13 upset. The Miami Dolphins end the Bills' win streak at 7 games. This dominance that the Bills have exhibited against Miami, against this divisional rival, anything but in this game today. An absolute disaster. Sal Maiorana, instead of being at Hard Rock Stadium, joins us from his home office in Rochester. Speaking of disasters, for Sal and for many, many others, the airline situation, the travel can be certainly described as that. So, Sal, you were grounded for this trip, unfortunately, and it's probably just as well at this point.
This is actually a very good game to not be in the locker room today, because that's going to be a veritable shit show, I'm sure. There's going to be a lot of pissed off people in that room, and deservedly so. The Bills were so bad today, Adam, and this really should ring the bell on what this roster really is. I mean, we heard Brandon Beane earlier in the week talking about it's a championship roster. They were disappointed they couldn't add people at the trade deadline. We found out this morning, if the reports are true, that they did target a couple big-time players in the division, and wisely so. Those division teams didn't help the Bills. I don't blame them at all. I don't care what the offer was. Why would you help the Bills? So this is the roster they have, Adam, and it clearly is not good enough to win a Super Bowl. And with these injuries continuing to pile up week after week after week, they are a team that is really in a lot of trouble right now. And this loss clearly revealed that today.
Speaking of division opponents, the Patriots didn't help them today either. They hang on, they win at Tampa Bay. So
this was one of the rare weeks this year, Adam, where there was a chance that the Patriots could lose. Their schedule was so unbelievably easy, and a wasted opportunity. The Buccaneers couldn't take care of business. They lose at home, and the Patriots are in complete control. A 1.5 game lead with the tiebreaker, and just a laughably easy schedule the rest of the way. I don't see a path that the Bills can win this division, short of, Drake May getting hurt and out for the season. I don't see a path to the Bills winning the division.
All right, we're live. 30-13, Miami Dolphins over the Buffalo Bills. We're live here, special post-game edition, Believe in Bills, here on YouTube and the Believe Network. We invite you to join us, your comments, questions after this one. Where do we start? I think you have to on the offensive side of the football, right? Allen certainly not himself.
No.
But the whole receiver separation issue glaring in this game, what Miami was able to do defensively and what the Bills weren't able to do from an offensive standpoint, and turning the football over. That's an absolute recipe for a loss. And the Bills, in addition to the lack of efficiency and production, were careless with it today. Allen intercepted in the end zone, the Cook with the fumble, and Allen with the extra effort when he already has the first down.
Yep.
I mean, you got to be more mature than he even knew himself. He saw him say it on the sideline. He needed to get down there. I mean, it was a spiral sort of mushroom cloud situation where things went from bad to worse.
Yeah, and all three of those turnovers, Adam, were a direct result of points coming off the scoreboard, right? I mean, the interception in the end zone, obviously. Cook fumbled at the 25. They were going in for points there. And I think the Bills, they were finally moving the ball when Allen coughed it up in Miami territory. So you can make a case there were 3 scores, some type of score, that came off the board with those 3 mistakes alone. Then you turn to the defensive side completely. Look, I know they're up against it. You can't even blame the defense. They collapsed in the fourth quarter against Achane, but I think by that point, they're so exhausted. I couldn't really pin a whole lot of it on the defense, but, the usual missed tackles and, problems in that area led to Achane having a great day. They were just shitty on both sides of the ball. There's no way, there's no other word to use. I don't care that we're on a family show here, Adam. They were shitty from start to finish today. I mean, they get an interception in the first series of the game. They go 3 and out. Right there, you had a sense that, man, this team is just not here today, and they never showed up the whole day.
All right. Reed Melancholy Strumpet Master is the handle here. You could probably adopt some of that, Sal.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Melancholy master, at least. If Drake May gets to the Super Bowl before Allen, maybe that'll be enough to fire McDermott, who can only, but this is how it's written, who can not only sustain or not sustain any focus or momentum from week to week. The Bills are the moodiest team in NFL history.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. First of all, I think McDermott has sustained plenty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look,
I mean, let's go ahead. If you want to throw coaching onto the hot coals after this game, feel free, and we can do that. But with the success they've had, Sean McDermott has done plenty to sustain so much with this organization. Today was a horrific effort by his football team.
Yeah, I mean, all I see on Twitter, Adam, or most of what I see, and it starts in the first half: fire Joe Brady, fire Sean McDermott, fire everybody. It's always the coaches. It's always the coach's fault. Meanwhile, I'm watching players, wide receivers specifically, who can't get open. They're leaving the quarterback hanging out to dry. Now, granted, I don't think he was very good today. I mean, he made some plays where most quarterbacks would not have been able to do, but he has nowhere to go with the football on so many of these dropbacks. His receivers just aren't very good. Yeah, yay for Keon Coleman. Finally made a play for the first time in 7 weeks. Caught a touchdown pass. Good for him. You look on the replays, Adam, which I got to see a lot of today being at home, and you don't see anybody open downfield. What's he supposed to do? Yeah, could Joe Brady put him in better situations? Maybe, but it comes down to players. They do not have good enough players on the offensive side of the ball, at least in the receiving group. Okay, the receiving group, we're going to stick out specifically here to get anything done. So fire Brady, fire McDermott. How about Brandon Beane needs to do a better job building a wide receiver room next year and stop signing mid-tier free agents and then whiffing on a guy like Keon Coleman. Maybe that would be a place to start.
Yeah, I mean, it's a group that he's so staunchly defended, right?
Yeah.
And if reports are true, went after Waddle, a first-round pick being part of that deal back to Miami, and it still didn't work out for reasons we discussed at the top of the show, where obviously getting deals done like that within the division can be very difficult. So I think if that's true, let's assume for the moment that it is, Sal, then he recognized it. And I suppose you can understand why he would so staunchly defend the group that he has publicly, right? I mean, obviously he's going to do that from an in-house perspective. But the simple fact of the matter is there have been numerous opportunities to upgrade in this area. I think it's fair to criticize Bills management for sort of the lack of foresight in this area, thinking that what they have would suffice because they have a quarterback who can elevate. But if guys can't get open, there's only so much Josh Allen can do.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it comes down to me, it's their talent evaluation, Adam. I mean, however they're evaluating wide receivers, it really hasn't worked since when? Since they traded for Stephon Diggs, and that wasn't really a tough evaluation to make. He was a great player when the Bills signed him to the free agent contract or traded for him, whatever. I forget what it was so long ago now. That was an easy evaluation. What have they done since to truly hit on a wide receiver? Khalil Shakir was a 5th-round pick. Okay, nice for a 5th-round pick. He's a good little player. What is he really, though? He's a 5th-round pick who catches bubble screens and breaks a few tackles and makes some nice plays. That's what his game is. Teams are figuring that out, Adam. They know what's coming now with the Bills passing game. If they don't start getting people downfield open, those little short passes to Shakir and Moore and whoever else, those are no longer going to work either. And what we really saw today, Adam, which we both knew this was going to happen at some point, when a team finally shuts down James Cook, which the Dolphins did early in the game, then the Bills are in trouble because the opposing defense has the Bills right where they want them then, making their receivers have to make plays to get the ball downfield, right? If James Cook isn't hitting and getting ahead of the sticks for the Bills, they've got problems, and that was evident all day long today.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, I think it was Charles Davis on the game broadcast where they illustrated it was during a replay, and they devoted sort of a segment to it, an analytical segment to it where, the Dolphins are doing a good job, keeping the Bills underneath. Well, the Bills That's what their group of receivers is designed to do.
What they do.
That's what they
Exactly.
do, right? And then you take Kincaid out of the mix, who,
Yeah.
you know, you shouldn't be relying on a tight end for he's become a fine player, still too inconsistent, and now hurt again with a hamstring.
Yeah.
Which of course is very. But
he's another guy. He just can't stay healthy, Adam. He got hurt last year midseason, came back, but was never the same player. So it was kind of a wasted year. And now here we go again. He missed one game earlier in the year with an oblique. Now he's got a hamstring. You know damn well he's going to be out now. Hamstrings are very, very tricky. He couldn't finish the game. That's already bad news for next week against Tampa. And then we'll see moving forward. You just can't rely on him. He's just not a guy that first round pick in his third season now. He shows flashes, but there's just no consistency or ability to stay on the field and stay healthy in these games. So that's a problem. Now you're down to Dawson Knox as your number one tight end again. I'm sorry, Dawson Knox shouldn't even be playing. It should be Kincaid and Jackson Hawes getting the most snaps of the tight ends. Now we're back to Dawson Knox being the starting tight end again, probably. It's a bad situation. And with no receivers to bail them out, they've just got a humongous problem there.
All right, so let's get to a couple of comments. And Channing Pollock, how worried are you about Josh Allen long term? I'm not worried about him per se. His game is where it is. I mean, again, the extra effort today is appreciated but unnecessary, and putting the football at risk on his fumble on the keeper there. I mean, there was some judgment errors as far as Allen was concerned today. The interception in the end zone, I'd like to be down there in the locker room and maybe try and get an explanation on that. Was that some sort of miscommunication or whatever? I think it certainly was. And I don't know who that's on, right? So let's qualify it with all of that. Today, not his best game, but the Bills aren't even remotely where they are without him. And moving forward, am I worried about him? No, he's a tremendous leader, a tremendous quarterback. I am worried about getting the right pieces around him, Sal, because at this stage of where they're at in their evolution and relative to the Super Bowl window and where he is in his career and what they've done, we should not be having this conversation about having arguably the best quarterback in football. I'll go ahead and call him that, without the proper array of weapons for him to throw the football to, looking at how they've, allocated their resources in recent years. It's inexcusable.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they're kind of wasting this season with Josh Allen. Now, look, I mean, people were saying you're wasting his prime years. Why is he really in his prime yet? I mean, quarterbacks play till they're 40 years old. We might still have 10 or 11 years of Josh Allen. It's not like he's all of a sudden going to be a bad player 3 or 4 years from now. So I'm not saying they're wasting his career, but this season feels like a waste because you look at their schedule, Adam, things were set up pretty nice for the Bills this season. It was set up to get off to a great start. And that New England game, the Atlanta game was horrible, but that New England loss really kind of screwed up what could have been a great start to the season. And then they finish, with 2 games at home in case they're really important. They're going to be at home for those 9 home games. They didn't lose one to Europe, right? They had, and their schedule, when you look at it, isn't really all that difficult. I mean, they've got a few first place teams in there compared to New England's. It's much harder, obviously, but across the league, this was not a daunting schedule. So they're kind of pissing it away this year. And we keep pointing to the same thing. It's because they are faulty at wide receiver. They have not surrounded Josh Allen with enough talent. He's got a great offensive line. He's got a great running back. He doesn't have anybody to throw the ball to. And that is a colossal waste. Unless you've got a great defense that can keep games or the opponents, under 20 points or whatever, you need to score points in the NFL. And the Bills, they have scored points, but their defense isn't good enough to win games like today when the offense really had nothing going. That's a problem. And I don't trust this defense at all. I don't. I mean, again, I'm not going to hang this on them today. They're undermanned. It's ridiculous how many injuries. I think Benford becomes the 8th starter to miss time this season. That's crazy. It's just every team has injuries. The Bills have had an unbelievable run of bad luck on the defensive side of the ball. But you still look at that defense, Adam, it's not good enough. It's
No.
not good enough to win a championship. This offense has to be elite, and the offense is no longer elite. It's just not.
No, I mean, defensively, you look at what Achane was able to do in this game, and I know he picked it up as it went along. But again, there are there's fundamental issues. You can talk about poor tackling and all of those things, but then there's just not having the right mix of players. And again, injuries take a massive toll. And then you add on, let's talk about, for example, Bishop, who again showed flashes today, right? Hairston, who shows flashes. So you've got some youth coming there. But fundamentally, with a season on the line and a high impact playoff game, they're still extremely vulnerable from a defensive standpoint, which is where they've been in the past. I mean, they didn't let me look at the final since we're coming on here at the post game. I don't think they got to Tua today. Did they?
No, there was no pressure. Now, again, Tua's hard to sack because he gets rid of the ball so quickly. There was some pressure. They sent some blitzes at Tua. They got 2 interceptions. I mean, they did get 2 interceptions. They were both kind of Hail Mary balls, so it wasn't like, great plays on defense. But yeah, there was no pass rush. But again, that's nothing new with Tua. It's hard to get to him because they get rid of the ball so quickly. Mm-hmm. The problem today was, again, we talked about the offense. The problem today was they couldn't stop Achane, both as a runner and as a receiver. I said this going into the game. Because he plays on a bad team, he kind of gets overlooked. He's one of the best two-way backs in the league. I mean, he caught 43 passes before this game today, plus he had over 600 yards rushing. Those totals have gone way up after today. He's a really good player. He killed them all day long.
All right, Michael Gentile, the question, is it more Brady or the quality of the players available? Seems like a very short playbook that is predictable. All right, I have 2 parts to that answer. I'll go ahead and answer it, Sal, and then you offer your takes. Brady certainly did not call its best game and has had some play calling issues this year. That's obviously a concern that we've addressed at great length on the show. But I feel it's much more an issue of the players they have, and then on top of it, what Brady's able to call. As far as the receivers go, it's the mix of players and the lack of a dynamic downfield threat. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's the issue relative to Michael's point, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, he calls plays. You got to have players execute the plays. Now, can he call a few better plays? Yeah, maybe, I guess. But I again, it just drives me nuts that so many fans immediately just jump to fire this coach, fire that coach. Why don't fans ever call the players out for not doing what they're supposed to do and not being good enough to execute the play? I guarantee you, Joe Brady is not a terrible play caller. He's a good play caller. But if guys aren't executing, if guys can't get open, he could call the greatest play in the world. But if Keon Coleman is being glued to by some third-string cornerback, which was the case a few times today, what are you supposed to do? What is Josh Allen supposed to do? So, again, just stop with the firing the coach every week and look at the players and look at what's happening on the field, because those are the guys ultimately who are responsible for days like today.
Perfect example of that, too. And I think you'll remember, especially since you watched the game on television today as opposed to being in the press box down there, Sal. It was in the second half. I forget exactly when. But Allen threw near sideline for Coleman. And the pass was broken up. But Davis even made the point, and those guys are always so careful not to offend, on the national broadcast. But he actually went ahead and said, I feel like Josh is asking Keon Coleman to go up and make a play for him. It was a contested catch. And Coleman did anything but, right? In fact, I would question his timing and maybe his effort on that play, right? Regardless of what it is, he's got to go up and make a legitimate attempt at catching that football, and he wasn't even close. That's the point right there. It's not just a talent mix, but then you have certain instances like that with a high draft pick who has yet to produce, given where the Bills drafted him.
He was targeted 8 times today. He caught 3. I mean, it's not great. Now, I think one of them was completely uncatchable, not his fault, but the other ones, make a play, man. I mean, make a play. Right. He had the one late in the game. The defender tipped the ball and it kind of fell right into his hands. He couldn't even catch that one. I mean, it probably wasn't going to matter at that point in the game anyways, but there was a ball where, why didn't you catch that? I mean, it was tipped kind of like right to him, and he doesn't hold on. So, yeah. And look, we've been on him all season long, and I think we're going to be proven correct, Adam. It was a bad pick. I do not see Keon Coleman ever becoming a player who would have been worthy of a second round, not only a second round pick, the first pick of the second round. I just don't see it. He's going to be a mediocrity his entire career. Maybe I'll be wrong for the Bills' sake. I hope I am, but I don't think I'm going to be.
You know what I'm left with as we kind of begin to wrap this up here? I mean, even with all of the issues we're talking about, how do you lose that game?
Yeah,
right.
I know.
How do you go down there? You can go down there and play lousy. That happens. You know, I think we made this point after the Saints win this year, that plenty of Super Bowl teams have gone into these games and played lousy but won, right? Yep. How do you go and lose that game the way they did? And it gets to Dutch Flatz's point here. A team looked totally unprepared for this game and had no answers when challenged. That's all on McD and Bean to me. Well, it's on the players to execute. It certainly is. But as we have on this show, and I think it is fair, go ahead and question how this roster is constituted, particularly on the offensive side and in that receiving core. I think that's more than a fair point as we've sort of fleshed out today.
Absolutely. Look, you know, I'm watching that Atlanta Indy game today and just watching Atlanta blow it, which you knew they were going to do. And I sat there before the Bills game started thinking, you look at that loss and you're like, how the hell did they lose to the Falcons? That's the one per season loss that they always seem to have, right? There's always one that you just absolutely bang your head against the wall. Well, now they have two, Adam. They've got two losses this year to teams that they simply had no business losing to. And I know they're both on the road. It's tougher to win on the road. There's no excuse to lose to a 3-6 Atlanta team now, and now a Dolphins team that's 3-7. If you want to be a Super Bowl winner and get that number one seed, you got to win these games. Indy went to friggin' Berlin today and took care of business against an inferior team. New England went down to Tampa Bay. Now, it's a banged up Tampa Bay team. I get it, but that's still a good team. They went down there and took care of business. The Bills have gone on the road and lost two absolute stinkers to teams they have no business losing to, and it's going to haunt them at the end of the year. Like I said earlier, it's the path to win a division, the division title, and get a home game in the playoffs is, to me, really, really difficult now. I just don't know that this Bills team, again, with all the injuries they're facing, I just don't think they're made to do it this year. I just don't see it. Now, who knows in the playoffs? Maybe they get hot, they go on a run, but man, I'm not seeing that right now.
Yeah, Bills are 6th in the AFC as we speak, 6-3, right? New England extends to 8-2. What an opportunity they blew. I mean, obviously New England wins the game, but at least you would have kept pace, right?
I mean, there was a wonderful world today where the Bills could have been in first place.
Yeah.
I mean, a very believable world. It beat Miami, okay, and it was very possible the Buccaneers could have beaten the Patriots. They could have been in first place by a half a game. Now it feels like they're a game and a half plus the tiebreaker. It feels like they're miles behind in the division. So, yeah, brutal. It's a brutal day for the Bills. Really, really bad.
Does this change the complexion for you? You look at the Colts now. They fly overseas, go to Berlin, Olympic Stadium, win 8-2. You've got Denver there. I mean,
which I don't know how they're 8-2, but they are.
Right, exactly. Talk about ugly. But 8-2. New England clearly ahead of schedule with obviously a franchise quarterback that they've identified and acquired now, Drake May, in his second year, and a head coach that really knows what he's doing. 8-2. Pittsburgh 5-3. Chargers and Buffalo each 6-3. You know, I've always kind of felt like, at least for the early portion of the season, that it was interesting that those teams had sort of risen, right? But it was maybe the New England game and the loss to the Patriots that made me question, and I think you are too. I always felt the Bills were still sort of a cut above, right?
Yeah.
I really don't feel that way anymore.
No, they're not. New England, I'm not going to say top to bottom New England has a better team, but they are the better team right now, right? They are playing better football, again, against an easy schedule, but they found their quarterback. They found their coach. They've built the roster pretty well. They played without one of their best receivers today. Still found a way to get it done because they have a guy named Stephon Diggs, still pretty good player. That's a good team. People who underestimated the Patriots this year, I think were silly. I knew they were going to be a problem from day one. Everyone asked which team can really give the Bills trouble. It was easy. The Patriots. You could tell everything is reborn there this season. They're buying in. They've got the right coach. They're going to be a problem. And sadly, Adam, they are now going to be a problem probably for years to come.
Right.
And this thing may end up getting flipped back the other way. I'm not going to count the Bills out. They still have Josh Allen, but the Patriots are back. It's unfortunate that we didn't give to live more of our life without the Patriots being relevant, but they're back, folks, and they are probably going to win the division this year.
Yeah, you've got just saying, chiming in here. New England, better offense, better defense, better coaches. Pats will make the Super Bowl before the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of wide open in the AFC. I'm not going to count anybody out at this point. I'm not totally believing the Colts yet. We saw Daniel Jones tried a few times to blow that game today. They pulled it out in the end because they have a great running back. That was the reason they won the game. There's no dominant team in the AFC, so sure. I mean, the Bills are certainly one of the good teams in the AFC. They're going to be there, but I look at this roster, Adam, and I see the problems. I just don't see it happening for the Bills this year. All that talk about going undefeated and they're going to go to the Super Bowl and Highmark Stadium going to go out on a high note. Right now, I don't see that happening. I just don't. They'll probably get to the playoffs. I'm not feeling a run this year.
All right, let's get to a couple more of these comments before we wrap it up here. Big Matt, you see it on the screen, actually. The sad thing is nothing will change. The offense will not evolve. Brady will not change his play calling, and the terrible run defense will continue. Well,
can't argue that right now.
At least this season, unless the execution changes on the field.
Yeah.
And, I do think that I do think this. I feel like Bean's, and I kind of made this point earlier in the show, I feel like Bean's own perception of what he has on offense in terms of the receiving core. I mean, going for Waddle, if that report is true, and they were willing to part with a first rounder as part of that deal, then he recognizes they have an issue. You don't do that, right? So, I mean, I think they're going to address it this offseason, but as far as this year and what was expected and the window and all of those things, today was a step that, I mean, it's not closed by any stretch of the imagination, right? But I mean, it's not as open as I thought it was coming out of the Kansas City game, where all of a sudden they're back up to just behind the Chiefs and the Super Bowl odds and all those things. This is I guess the point is, as we begin to wrap it up, Sal, that was a sobering loss to a very poor football team today.
Yeah, it was. The Dolphins came in, they were ready to play. Again, teams like that, Adam, always give me pause, especially division teams that they're just playing. They don't care anymore. They're 2-7. They don't care about losing. They know their season's going nowhere. Those sometimes are the more dangerous teams. They were more dangerous than the Chiefs were last week, it feels like to me, when you get right down to it, right? I mean, teams with their backs against the wall who don't give a shit, they worry me. And they took it to the Bills today. And also, I've been saying this for the last few times the Bills have played the Dolphins, and it finally came true. The law of averages was just going to catch up with the Bills at some point, Adam. They couldn't keep, even the Patriots lost a couple times to the Bills back in the day. You knew the Dolphins were going to get over on the Bills at some point. And this one, with all the injuries the Bills are dealing with, this one really did feel like the one. I'm still puzzled why I chose the Bills to win by 13 points. But as the week was going on, I was feeling less and less confident about that. But I can't change my pick. The pick was the pick, and I looked pretty silly. Not that I was alone. I think everybody picked the Bills to win, but they didn't come through. All
right, Big Matt again. Bean's a terrible GM. How do other teams have a dozen superstars and under the cap? Not. But the Bills have Allen Cook and a bunch of mediocre guys, and we're over the cap or near, with very little cap space to work with.
A lot of teams are right at the cap. They spend money. Problem is the Bills they've got to pay their quarterback. Teams that are paying their quarterback are always at a little bit of a disadvantage with the rest of the roster. And the Bills also have some other guys who are highly paid. They've got some veteran guys on their team, guys like Deion Dawkins, and I can go down the list here, that are getting a lot of a lot of money on that salary cap. It's very top heavy, and you've got to hit on the rest of that roster. And again, Beane's not a terrible GM, but he's in a little bit of a slump. He's in a little bit of a slump right now with the roster construction, and it's starting to show up.
All right, let's do one or two more here. Let's go to Dutch Flats. It looks to me as if Allen's getting tired of the situation here in Western New York, as did Diggs and others have over the years, including those on the Sabres. Let's, for the moment, leave the Sabres out of it. Okay? I don't get the sense.
Let's not reference the Sabres.
I don't get the sense that Allen falls into that category. I sense his frustration, but there's no lack of commitment from him or lack of desire to be. And I take him at his word when he says he wants to win a championship for this community and for this team. And an abysmal loss like today's does nothing to change that for me. That to me is an overreaction.
I don't know why.
Right.
Yeah, that's, he's not going anywhere. Doesn't want to get out. So yeah, let's tap the brakes on that one. All right. I got to wrap it up here. I got to get to work.
Okay. Understood. I don't even know. I'm trying to do this correctly, Sal. And
okay.
All right, there we go. All right.
There you go.
Tampa Bay next week. Pretty good. We went 31 and a half minutes and you're on deadline. So why don't we let you go and take care of that? Again,
everyone for being here. This was great. It's unusual because I'm home today. You're going to have to wait in the future weeks for, several hours, but this worked out good today because I'm not in the locker room. So glad we could do it. And glad we had our biggest audience so far this year. So that was great. Yeah. So be back here each week with us on the live show.
Yeah. Post game, unless it's a prime time, we're live. So look for the link that each of us tweet out and you can join us. Excellent turnout today. We really appreciate you taking part. Bills fall in upset fashion to the Miami Dolphins and are set to face Tampa Bay next week. So for Sal Maiorana, the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, I'm Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV, Sports Talk Live Buffalo. Thanks for being with us here on Believe in Bills.